But guess what? Your girl Gia is in the midst of her own mastery lesson. And because I believe in walking my talk, and I am a big fan of using my personal stories to help teach concepts, I'm going to walk you through it. And hopefully, this will help you see not only how to untangle the things that we're kind of stuck in the midst of, but see how life gives us the perfect circumstances to work through the trauma, the wounds, the beliefs, the fears that are buried deep within that need to be excavated.
But first, your daily dose of Daisy, who's right here in my lap.
And believe it or not, this mastery lesson has been manifesting through a dental emergency. Fun! So I've had this tooth pain that has been on and off for literal years now, okay? This this is taking an incredible amount of vulnerability because I'm so ashamed. But that's exactly part of it. That is exactly what I'm facing. So this first started happening years ago, and it was coinciding with a really challenging period of time where my husband and I had been through some pretty serious job loss. That was a low point. We almost lost our house. It was a really difficult time. So when I started having this tooth pain, we couldn't afford to fix it. So I was like, all right, with everything else that was going on, this was yet one more thing that I was having to go without and that I was having to sacrifice because we didn't have the money. We couldn't do it. I didn't even have insurance. We lost the job. But then by the time that we got back on our feet, we were doing better financially, this pain would come and go. So it became easy for me to just kind of ignore it, power through. Because this fit in with so many patterns in my life, okay? One of them being to neglect my own emotional and physical needs. And a lot of that has to do with childhood and being raised in a high demand religion and parents who parented accordingly. Suck it up. You have nothing to be sad about. How dare you complain? Does this kind of thing sound familiar? Anyone else who was raised by boomers? Now, this high demand religion, the whole vibe of this religion, they tell you continually, you must be perfect. You must be perfect. Just like Jesus is perfect. You must be perfect. So, built into this culture is a lot of fear of any outward or inward imperfection, which leads to a lot of silencing your problems, not admitting that you need help, not asking for help, not getting help. Because to do so is to admit that you are not perfect, to be weak, to crumble, to no longer be a missionary or a model member of society. Then we have all kinds of female conditioning and motherhood conditioning that to sacrifice is to be noble. And sometimes you just have to because the needs of children are so big that everything goes into caring for them. And as women who are primary caretakers, and especially if you're in a relationship where you're not an equal partner, you take on the burden. And that's just seen as like not only normal, that it's just this unconscious thing that you do, but also it is idealized, especially that religion. It fetishizes motherhood. Oh, mothers, you're so noble, you're so nurturing. And so it primes you to be this person who is completely selfless to the point of self destruction. And that is seen as the ideal. So as time has gone on, and this pain would occasionally flare up, it would stir up all of these emotions, all of these narratives, all of these fears, to the point where I internalized all of this as my fault. I mean, it kind of is. Like, let's be honest, it kind of is. But that whole thing of it's my fault and no one will help you because you did it to yourself, that is so deep in my core, in my wounding, in my childhood, in my upbringing, that facing that fear and trying to change it was even harder than getting myself to do the thing, you know? Sometimes we don't just do the thing and handle the thing because at that point it wasn't really about the tooth. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about fixing the tooth. It was about I still hadn't reckoned with these internal beliefs that I am a problem. I am a burden. It is selfish to spend the money because now I have to get a freaking root canal. And it's a Friday afternoon, so I have to wait until Monday. It's like I actually created a physical circumstance that matched the beliefs that I have been fighting and running away from and not fully excavating for literal years. So it didn't matter how many times I said to myself, you can afford it. You have good insurance. You need to take care of this. You need to monitor your health. This is important. You deserve to take care. It doesn't matter how much I knew that mentally, how much I knew all these things are true. the inertia, the momentum, the weight of those other beliefs was even greater and even bigger. And so, even though I no longer wanted to believe those old things, I hadn't fully processed everything that created them. So, I was in this battle every time the tooth pain would flare up. And it's not even just about, childhood stuff or wounds from the past. It's like my own perfectionism, my own self judgment, that, my own shame and embarrassment that I've had this problem that I could have and should have taken care of. But because I let it get so big, I've avoided going to the dentist for actual years. And now I've created even more problems. Who knows how many cavities I now probably have because I've done this thing, which is my fault, which does validate the shame and reinforces the narrative. Like, what? But this is what we do to ourselves. This is what we do. Something happens, it creates a belief, and then as we go through life, our circumstances tend to mirror that belief. And that's what shadow work is. Shadow work is getting us to see how the external circumstances are reflecting an internal struggle, an old belief, something that needs to be addressed and seen and healed. And so your life will get bigger and bigger and louder and messier. Your tooth will hurt more the more you are ignoring the work, because everything in shadow wants to rise to the surface. Our bodies, our souls, they want to be healed, and they will get louder until you heal them. So I need you to know that, it sounds so funny, but I need you to know that going to the dentist today was an extreme act of bravery. I was terrified. I actually cried this morning. I actually cried. And I was hoping that when the time came, the pain would go away so I could continue to ignore it. And then I wouldn't have to deal with all the other stuff around it. But because, again, I walk my talk no matter how hard, I was like, Gia, you have to do it. You have to do it. Be a big girl. I know this is hard. I know this is scary. You have to face it. And you have to go to the dentist, and you have to take care of your teeth, period. And of course, when I got to the dentist, the hygienist, the assistant, the dentist, they were all so wonderful, so kind, so understanding, no judgment. And they specifically said that, no judgment. We don't judge. We don't judge. They just wanted to help. They just wanted to take care of me, and they wanted to make it as easy and painless as possible. Now, unfortunately, I still, like I said, because it's Friday, I can't get a root canal until Monday. But they did everything they could to make me comfortable, to help me work through the pain. It's going to be okay. And so now that I have forced myself to face my fear and go forward and do the thing I was afraid of, I got to rewrite the story, because no one there judged me. No one there pushed on that shame. They validated my pain. They made me feel seen, and they helped me rewrite the story. I no longer have to feel like I'm a burden, or that telling people my weaknesses will bring about shame, and I won't be ostracized from my community, and all these like terrible things that I have built up in my mind. Even though I knew they weren't real, at some point in my past, they were real. And so this experience was mirroring that. So that's the thing, guys. I know it is really hard to face our fears. I know it is. I know it's hard to do the work, but I'm telling you, and this isn't my first mastery lesson. This is just one I'm in right now. But I can tell you from experience that it's harder. It's so much harder to keep a lid on it. The anxiety and fear you feel before doing the thing is harder than actually doing the thing. And once you actually do the thing, not only is it so much easier and better than all the fear you had built up in your mind, but you do get to release lifetimes of drama and fear and pain and anxiety and old stories that are not true. And you get to set yourself free. So, get to work. We got this.